Welcome to the Mitchell Karnes Podcast. I have a special guest with me tonight, Kristen Sweeney, who's going to be playing Abbey Rhodes, my detective from my series. And so, welcome, Kristen. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. A busy day. This is our big payroll day. So, my regular job, Tuesdays is my big day. But I'm trying to fit those podcasts in there because I have Thursdays where I get interviewed by someone else on a weekly basis.
Fun.
Yeah. I appreciate you agreeing to do this. This is just my second time doing it, so just bear with me as we go, and we'll just kind of make it a conversation, hopefully. And I want to know what first led you to acting.
That's funny because I think I always did it since I was little. I would listen to commercials and then quote them around the house and sit on the bathroom counter and talk in the mirror like I was doing a commercial. I think I've always loved entertaining people and making them laugh. Okay. So that's how I just slipped into it. And then in high school, I had to choose an elective, and I'd always been in choir before this. And so they were like, no, the class you need to take is the same time as choir, so you have to pick something else. So I took a theater class on a whim, and then that's all she wrote. I was hooked.
Are you in musical theater, I assume?
I have done musical theater before.
Okay. Do you like keeping them separate, or do you?
Honestly, it's whatever I have time for, because musical theater is way more demanding. You have to learn the dances, the songs, the parts, and the lines, and the blocking. So it's more challenging, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay. What part do you sing? In
soprano.
Soprano?
I can sing either alto or soprano, but soprano was the first place I started.
Yeah, that's what my wife sings. I sing tenor. Yeah. So we have a whole cast full of singers, I know.
Yes.
When you guys are professional, I'm just doing it for fun. What was your first significant role?
I would jokingly say when I was a sheep in first grade, but that wasn't as significant. I think
it
probably
was significant to you.
Yeah. That was my first time on a stage. Probably my first significant role would be when I played Hava in Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, was this in the local theater?
This was at a local community theater.
Okay.
I love working with that community theater in particular. Shout out to Springhouse Theater because they do things with excellence. And for this role, I had to learn the Russian accent. And so I had studied, this was years back, I had studied for hours and hours to get my accent down for this, and then worked hard on my part and the dancing. And so it was the most challenging role that I had. And it was super fun. I learned a whole lot.
Now, which of the sisters is that?
Hava would be the one that runs off with a Russian, a soldier, and she abandoned the family.
The first to abandon.
I believe she is the first. It has been so long since I've done that show.
My father-in-law loves that musical.
There's a lot there, a lot of depth.
I think he wanted the song from the wedding. Is this the little girl I carried? I guess it is. There's a big difference to me, at least to me, in theater on the stage versus on film, because on film breaks it up in pieces. If you're on that stage and you have a significant part or a big role, you've got to memorize all of that at one time. So how have you felt with the differences of that? And is that an accurate thing to say?
It's a totally different animal. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's theater, you do memorize the whole thing, start to finish, it goes in order, whereas film, you can film the scenes based on location, based on people's availability, and the weather. That happens too. And then you wait on set a lot for film, so you get time to work on your lines there, and you can learn scenes in pieces on the set. Versus theater, you have to be off book by however many weeks before the production goes on. There's pros and cons to both, honestly, but for theater, it tends to be easier to memorize lines unless you have constant monologues because you're in rehearsal so many times a week. You're constantly rehearsing. You go over the same scene with people back and forth so many times that it just kind of, for me, it just gets stuck in my head, and it tends to be pretty easy.
How many have you had in the theater that you've done? High school, you can't count.
A kid asked me this a couple years ago backstage one time, and I had counted. It's been over 20, but that was a conservative number. I've done lots of theater in my past.
Okay. And one thing that you were talking with Mike, the producer, the director, one time about getting different, having a script, but having revisions given to you on a short notice. How does that work? Because I've never been a part of that at all.
It's one of those things that you just gotta, you get a revision and you're like, let's go with it. Let's do it. We changed the scene. Usually it's not that significant in my experience so far. I'm sure it has been in lots of different instances for other actors, but you just got to roll with it. For film, it's easier because there's multiple takes. You try not to waste everybody's time, obviously, and have to reset everything for multiple takes and having it broken down in smaller sections, depending on the camera angles and all that. You have extra time to kind of get grounded in what you're doing now.
With the role of Abbey Rhodes, what are you doing to prepare for that? And how are you getting into that character?
There's so much. When I do something, I want to do it 110%. So I have got so much that I'm going to be working on for this role. I'm excited that you put me in touch with the female detective with Metro Nashville that you consulted in, or you did a ride along with her too, I heard.
When she was an officer, she was a patrol officer, Officer Vaughn. I was able to do that. And Lieutenant, I want to call him Daniels, Lieutenant Sears connected me with everybody. And that's who I ended up with, because he knew I was going to write a female character. So he made sure that I was in a ride along with a female officer. And it just so happened that she took the track and ended up in homicide, which is what my character Abby does. So that's one of those God things that I couldn't control. I can't take the credit for. He just put me there and it's happening. They've continued to be such a good resource for me and a soundboard, because when I do things that are outside the parameters of what they would legally do and what is procedurally incorrect, they will correct before I put it out to my agent.
Helpful.
So what kind of insights did Detective Vaughn give you?
So far, I feel like I barely scratched the surface of what all goes in to being a detective. The movies portray one thing, and I wanted to know, what are the differences? What are we seeing portrayed versus reality? Because I love a good, honest acting, honest being as close as you can get to holding a mirror to the truth. And so I will be racking her brain more, because I feel like the first meeting that I had with her was just not enough information because we didn't have time. But I learned so much from her already. And I do have a family member with the police department as well. And I've contacted that family member and asked some questions there. I want to get a well-rounded view. I want to learn more about aspects of being a female in the department, detective versus regular officer, because Abby was an officer before she became a detective, as well as I know some people who are counselors, and I want to talk to them too about this. Your writing covers such heavy topics, and with the subject of abuse, there's just so much there. And I would like to be able to portray something accurately and hopefully help some of these people feel seen. Anybody who's been abused or had a family member who'd been abused, it's not something that I take lightly. And so I want to do deep dives. I'll be reading all of the books to get a well-rounded view of Abby. Thankfully, you wrote it from first-person perspective. So you're in her head. I didn't
plan it that way. It didn't start out that way. I was going to do it third-person omniscient and go back and forth between Abby and Sam. And it just, the more I felt with it, I needed to be from her perspective. And you get the clues the way she sees them versus, and then because she had so much baggage, and that became just as much of a story as the mystery that they're trying to solve or the case they're trying to solve. And so it almost demanded that. And so I heavily rely on having 4 daughters, having taught, and I coached girls softball. So those voices I'm pulling from. I still coming from a man. I know that's not entirely true, but even like that with the police officer, you're talking about being correct. That's one of the things that Matt asked me to do, Lieutenant. He says, please do this as accurately as possible. Don't solve it in 30 minutes. Make it one case that they're working on. And so tried my best to do that. I know I'm still not in that job and still not doing it the way that they would do it, but try to do it the best. And pulling from being a counselor and being a pastor, a lot of that is is those things that you see and you feel and people have suffered with it. I pull in because I want people to be entertained on the surface level, but I also want them to, as more they dig, the more they find. And I wrote this for several people close to me, family members who were deep and heavy into the church, but something happened to them, either personally or something in the church that just caused them to pull back, either feeling like they're not welcome anymore, that God couldn't love them anymore, or just they've been criticized. And so that's what I pull for from Abbey.
There's so much there. There's layers.
Peeling it back layer. Book 4 has the kind of the last surprise from the past that I'm writing now. And then books 5 and 6 are her piecing all that together and working through the baggage, hopefully for reconciliation.
Wow. Yeah, so obviously you're a great resource too. I will be asking you more questions too as we get closer.
You're welcome to, but there are people better than I am about that. I want to do a little bit of change here and talk about the Ninja Warrior part of your life. I love seeing those little clips that you put on Instagram. And the last one you put, I guess the last one I saw, going the upside down staircase.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's one that I was wondering if I'd had. When I was younger, yes, I could have done that when I was some gymnastics and a lot lighter from wrestling. But now, as a 63-year-old, can't see myself doing any of that. So it was impressive watching you do that and the transfer over to the other side.
Thanks.
What got you into that? And how have you progressed since you first started?
I'll try to be brief because I could probably write a book about that. I was never an athlete growing up. I was in the arts. I was always petite and picked last for sports. So nobody, I'm pretty sure people that I went to high school with probably laugh to be like, she's what? Did you say she's an athlete? Yeah, because I never thought about it, but I loved the show American Ninja Warrior. And I would watch these people compete on obstacles. And it's a lot of upper body strength. It's very taxing. There's endurance. And I had no strength. None. I couldn't do a pull-up. Like, people joked about, oh yeah, all your guns. And like, my cousin one time was like, she doesn't have guns. I was like, they're concealed carry, okay?
It's real.
So, didn't have them.
I was 4'8" going into my sophomore year in high school. That's why I love wrestling.
I get it.
Go ahead.
It didn't occur to me to wrestle. But I just kind of stuck to the things that I gravitated toward, acting, whatever, and went on there. But then one time in theater, I met somebody who had been on the show, and they challenged, they were like, have you ever tried it? Because he seemed to know a lot about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I knew all the obstacles, names, the people on the show. And they were like, you should try it. And I laughed. I was like, yeah. And they were like, no, I'm serious. And so I went, I tried some obstacles, and my friend was clever and had me do some stuff that I actually could do. And I was blown away that I could do anything. And so I got hooked. And so I do things 110%. So I started going to the gym. I didn't know what lats were until I heard I needed them to pull up to things. It's like, do I have lats? I don't know. We all have lats, but they're your back muscles to pull up. So those devil steps, that was a huge accomplishment for my growth in strength to be able to do that. Brand new to being an athlete, and devil steps is what they're called. They're upside down steps. They're wooden. Ours are probably like that thick. And you have to use like this motion to kind of flatten your hand. So you're not grabbing onto a bar and pulling up. So you need forearm strength. You need lats, back muscles to pull up to stuff. And with my training within the first 6 months, I finally got my first pull up, and I was super excited. And so now I'm doing 15 pull-ups a day for part of my homework and to get stronger. So getting that transfer to be able to hold on with one hand for a second to transfer my hand over to the other side was I was very excited about that. But basically, I just want to use this story to encourage people that you can dream new dreams, and it's never too late. If you're in your 30s and you decide you want to be an athlete, you can do it. If you try hard enough. And Mitchell, there is a division for people who are ages 40 and up, and there are 60-year-olds out there competing. So never say never if you want to get into Ninja Warrior. I think you could.
I've kicked cancer twice. I'll just leave it at that.
That means you're strong.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you get away with it.
All right. Do you have children?
I do. I have 2 kids.
So how does all of that, how do you juggle that with acting and with your Ninja Warrior? And
Oh, man. It's not easy, but I'm super thankful to have so much support from my family. And my kids are super excited about it and for Ninja and acting. And they're my little cheerleaders when I'm competing. And they do a little bit of Ninja as well, like a whole family thing. And my husband holds the fort down at home with the kids. So it's been a whole family effort, but I want to show them that it's not impossible to go after your dreams too. And they're
how
able
old are
to.
they?
They just had birthdays. They're 10 and 7 now.
Okay, old enough to know what you're doing and to see you in that. Okay, and remember.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite obstacle?
Oh, I'm always discovering new ones. That's the fun thing about Ninja. So far, we don't have one in my gym. I haven't been able to work on it much, but it's called a TikTok. And there are various iterations of them at different gyms, but essentially it's a square platform that your feet can stand on. And then picture like a pole going up, whether it's round or square. Sometimes they have padding on them. And they are attached to a bar at the top. And so you swing like a pendulum. And you have to get a good pump going. And then you turn backwards and turn around and jump out and catch something. It's a lot of fun.
Do you ever do any of the ones over the water?
I haven't gotten over the water yet.
Okay.
But I will be trying out for the show this year. So we'll see if I get that chance.
Yeah, the salmon ladder is the one that impresses me the most for the men. I don't know if the women do that too, but
They do.
Mess up one side of the balance. And it's over.
Oh, yeah. If your feet kick the wrong way on a swing, you're flying off backwards. There's a lot of room for error on that one, but it's really good for core and upper body. Everything actually, like your legs and feet are going. Everything has to work in perfect tandem to make it all happen. And one wrong move and you're coming off.
Going back to Abbey Rhodes, I know what it's going to mean to me if this becomes a ongoing series. What would that mean to you as being the starring role of something like that?
It would be an honor to be able to represent really a victim trying to overcome a horrible past, or representing anybody who's had to overcome anything, who's felt like they've had to hide or not be able to fully be themselves. I think it's more about telling the story. It would be an honor to continue to get to tell a story, to try to help other people feel seen and heard and understood. Because I think that's what we all want at the end of the day. And to watch her go through that journey to find somebody that you can be like, hey, this kind of reflects what I went through, and to see how she handles it, I think would be a powerful thing.
How does your faith play in Ninja Warriors and in your acting?
It's everything. Without God, I would not be able to juggle or handle any of it. Because of God, there's like a profound peace and joy that I can hold on to in the toughest moments, the most discouraging moments, through all the ups and downs. At the end of the day, I don't think I would still be here if I didn't have God in my life and a relationship with Him. Rather than just reading words, they're alive and they've changed my life. And it's been fun to encounter other Christians in Ninja and on set as well, because you see that same life. You can see it in people's eyes, and it's fun and encouraging. But also, I don't like to shove my faith on people. But whenever somebody is asking me, why are you so happy all the time? Or, but you've just been through this. How come you are acting this way, going through this situation? Being able to share just based on my experience, something that could encourage them. It's been fun to see how that affects people when they start to search and go into their own faith journey, how their lives change too, and they find peace. That's been incredible.
So how does your faith affect your choices and roles that you take, like boundaries that you have and parameters that you set for yourself?
That's a great question. I think that's a question we all need to ask and pray about as we get into acting and figuring out which roles are good to portray. My personal boundaries, I'm okay portraying if I have to, like a character that is inherently evil or portraying things that wouldn't necessarily be my moral values or choices up to a certain extent. If I feel like it's going to bring redemption, like that there's a redemptive part of the story that can be shown through it. If I'm playing a character where people can see this is clearly not a good choice for your life, this will bring destruction, I'm okay doing that. It depends on the situation and the role, really, individually.
Even if you're just playing the catalyst for another character that has that redemption?
Yes, to a certain extent. It ends up being a role-by-role basis as to what I'm willing to portray, or even lines that I'm willing to say or not to say, because I'm also keenly aware that you are creating a legacy with your words and your choices, and generations possibly will see this to come. And so what do you want your great-grandchild to go back and find out that you did? And what are you showing them based on the roles that you selected? And all of that goes into consideration.
What's your ultimate dream for career?
It's a tough question because rather than pursuing fame, I want to be able to continue to share honest stories. I want to be able to entertain people, yes, but I like to tell stories that help impact people, whether it's a theater production or a film or a TV show or even a commercial. Everything you do is bringing people, inviting them into an experience or a story of some kind, however brief that is. If people are coming to a production or turning on, just going and binging on Netflix or something, they are getting out of their normal experience, their daily life, or whatever things that they're going through, and they're being pulled into a story for a second. To be able to make them feel, smile, laugh, provoke them to thought, it's a huge responsibility, but I love the honor and opportunity to be able to play a part in that, however big or small. So really, my dream is just to keep telling stories, keep encouraging, inspiring people in whatever capacity. I'm happy as long as I can continue to do that. And I do that in life rather than on screen or on the stage as well. But it's fun to do that in that other capacity because we are created to create. And so that's my way of being creative.
Yeah, I use that answer for mine too. So, because that's why I write. I don't want to just have that entertainment level, but you do have to entertain. It all is that. And trying to pull out the emotions that I want them to feel on that particular scene or with that particular character. And like the mysteries, writing backwards, and then you go back forward through them and hope that you don't reveal it too soon, but hope you gave enough clues that they could have if they'd worked hard for it, to reward that. And to have actors like you and Phil coming in to portray those two major characters, that just makes me feel better, because that's always my fear is, will someone do justice to it? Will someone care enough to work at it? And I'm so concerned about those other two, Susan and Skylar, that are major players throughout. Will we get the right people for that? So that's, in my mind, it always appears to me like a movie, and I'm just trying to write it down as best I can and get in the heads to it. And then the fact that it's coming into film version, that's a childhood dream for me. And then just being able to play a little small part in the musical. We're going to make a musical of all this
I'll do
in the movie.
We can do that offset. Burst into song.
Yeah. But any last words that you'd like to share just about your career or about the Abbey Rhodes process? Or
it's an honor to be able to have this opportunity to portray Abby and represent people who could relate to her. And if I had anything that I could say to people, I just want to say to keep going, keep dreaming, work hard, don't stop, and don't let anything discourage you. A lot of times you have to be self-motivated in this game, but I want to inspire and encourage people that if I can keep going, dream new dreams, so can you, and hang in there and you're not alone.
Yes, and develop thick skin, because we're in careers that people aren't exactly nice sometimes on those critiques. You don't get, I was listening to Chris Pratt talking about the roles that he auditioned for but they didn't see him that way because they saw him as the overweight guy on Parks and Recreation. But he wanted to be these other roles with Marvel specifically. And it just happened with Guardians of the Galaxy, that one character finally fit him and he was able to do it. So that he did the same thing, is just don't give up. If you feel like you're called to do that, you keep at it. I'm 63 and this is finally happening. I had going into writing thinking in my 20s I would have the bestseller and they would be all made movies, and it didn't happen. And I had people even from the church saying, well, God had given you the gift to write. You're going to write Sunday school lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fiction. That's not what you... And I was writing Twilight Zone type stories at that point in time. So you got to be true to yourself, true to what God has given you, and lean on him is my advice all the way through.
The best advice. Stay strong.
Thank you so much.